All right. All right. This is it. It begins. In 3, 2, 1.
I have
Current Geek.
Aha.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Current Geek. It is Current Geek, the show that does rad things. For example, today's the Film Festival episode of the show, a special monthly look at the greatest movies of all time from a geeky perspective. This one's extra special, and our monthly look at the best film ever continues this week with It's a Wonderful Life. Just kidding! Star Wars! Star
Singing in the
Wars! Yeah, I read the thing above instead of below.
Citizen Rain Wars.
Yeah. Welcome back, something alone. Hey, it's me and Tom Merritt. I'm Scott Johnson. He's Tom Merritt. Hi, Tom Merritt. Good morning. Afternoon.
Hello, Scott Johnson. And yes, we're talking about something that is on our list of the greatest films of all time. We combined the rankings from Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, the American Film Institute. This is the 16th film on the list. It's a little independent that came out in 1977 from a director who'd only had one movie very successful up until that point, George Lucas. His American Graffiti follow-up was called Star Wars.
Now, not to be confused with his, I guess it was his college project, that THQ, whatever it was.
THX.
Or THX thing, which is cool in its own right, but nothing like Star Wars. A small, little independent film you may have heard of. A lot of people have seen the Star War or have a Star War in their life.
The Star Wars.
The Star Wars.
It was called that at one point in one draft.
Oh my god.
THX 1138. I want to make sure I didn't get the numbers wrong, but
Yeah.
that's the one you're
Oh,
talking
well done.
Yeah, it's a little weird for us because a lot of times I feel like we're trying to explain to folks, like, we're watching the greatest movies of all time as geeks. We're not watching the geekiest movies of all time. But this is kind of the first time where the streams have crossed, and we definitely have the geekiest movie of all time, I would argue, on the list of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, and it was a good opportunity for me to watch it with different eyes. I've seen episode 4.
Whose did you use?
I used mine this time, but usually I use
you
someone
usually
else's.
steal people's eyes.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see.
usually working with somebody else's eyes, and then today, or for this movie, I thought, let's put the old peepers back in. And the perspective I looked at it through was a little more looking at things like structure and pacing and things I usually don't care about. Because when I first saw this movie, I was 7 or 8, and it changed my life forever and influenced everything about me for up until this day. And so it's a huge, monumental thing in my life. It just sticks out no matter how you look at it. It's enormous. And I know there are people hearing me say this going, that's me too. Well, of course it is. A whole generation of us, and then many more that came after us, who were just smitten and dragged in and blown away. And regardless of where you stand today on the current incarnation of Star Wars movies, good or bad, it doesn't matter. The impact of those originals are just hard to deny. So what I wanted to do here was pay attention to the things that I would be a more cynical viewer of when I'm older. And kind of like you did that one time with Pretend I Don't Know Anything About Star Wars, and you watched all the movies.
Pretend I'm dumb about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I pretended I didn't know anything about the franchise from anyone. And
Yeah.
that was a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, what a cool experiment, because you put yourself in just a different brain space. What I was afraid of is that all of the seams, all of the cheese and the goofy and the stuff, which have always existed in Star Wars, I was afraid that was going to take front and center, and I was actually going to smudge my love for the movie and for the series. My favorite of the entire thing is episode 5, but 4 is right up there. And so I was a little nervous about it. I am so happy to be on the other side of this and say that even with that more cynical view, I loved it. And I think it's just about as close to what I would call structurally a perfect movie as you get. I think it's an amazing film and should be on this list for lots of reasons, not just because it had such an impact on me, but because it's just really good at what it set out to do and has no right to be as good as it ended up being.
I have a different perspective that I brought to it, and I'll explain in a minute. But before we get too much farther into talking about our reactions to our different mindsets, I think we need to set the table a little bit that this is the first science fiction and fantasy movie. Yeah, people argue well, it's not really science fiction, it's space opera, whatever. It's the first of any of that kind on our list.
Right.
We've had mysteries, we've had thrillers, we've had gangster pictures. This is the first sci-fi fantasy on the list. It won't be the last, though. And while we've had sort of like maybe there's a separate edit, or maybe like with The Godfather, they did a recut of the two movies and put it out as a miniseries. It's the first one where you have to ask someone, okay, but which version did you watch? Did you watch the original cut? Did you watch the special edition? And if you watched the special edition, was it the 90s special edition, the early 2000s special edition, or the most recent special edition? So I have the DVD that came out in like 2008 that contains the Laserdisc copy of the movie it is from the original print.
Right.
So there's none of the special edition content in it. That's what I watched. Which one did you watch?
I watched also that one. I have a DVD copy of that, and I assume it's probably the same exact run as far as I know as what you're talking about. It came in a cool tin case, the trilogy did.
Mine didn't come in a tin. Mine's just a plastic.
I have this rad tin case thing for it. Super cool.
But it's two DVDs. There's the DVD with the special edition, and then there's a second DVD that has like a promo for Lego Star Wars and the original print on it.
And I think we're still probably at some point Disney will get around to putting out a more legit Blu-ray high def generation version of the original.
I feel like they're going to save that until episode 9 is out, and then they'll put out the definitive box set edition with all the versions you could possibly want.
That's when you push that cash cow out of the barn. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But I also did something else. I went and watched a pretty comprehensive, and there's tons of this on YouTube and other places, so it's not hard to find, but I went and found a relatively comprehensive look at the differences between the two. What changed in the 97 redo, what was added, what was taken away. There's a small scene with Luke running through the hangar with his old buddy
Biggs, or
not Biggs, the other guy with the mustache, the one he only talks to, Wedge Antilles. So there's that whole scene which we didn't get in the original, which is a very small edition, and all the way to big weird stuff like a CGI Jabba the Hutt walking around with Han Solo negotiating before he leaves.
Right, because Jabba the Hutt was not a slug when they shot him for Star Wars. He was a guy.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of him.
Yeah.
And then when Jabba came back in Return of the Jedi, he was a slug. So when they made the special edition, went back and put the scene that they had shot with the guy in, but CG'd in the slug, and it doesn't work because Harrison Ford walks behind the actor that was playing Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, it's not good. And when he does, they try to, and when I watch this little clip of it, they do show the part where he steps on his tail and then goes taller and then goes shorter after he gets off the tail, and Jabba goes, but it doesn't work. It's very poorly done. And I have to say, not to sort of start things off in this way, but having seen all of that stuff, I'm glad that's not the version I watched in its linear entirety, because it's really bad. It doesn't hold up. That stuff just looks bad. And at the time in 97, I was kind of for this because it was the 25-year anniversary. It was a big deal. They were coming to theaters with it for
I loved
re-release.
being able to see it. I ran out and bought the VHS copies because I wanted to see that scene with Jabba the Hutt, because none of us had ever seen it before.
No, it was brand new. And I ran out. I went to a theatrical showing of it because they re-released it in theaters, and it was a big deal and made a bunch of money. And I thought, well, let's do that. So we did that, I remember. And I remember at the time going, ooh, there's a lot more banthas here now, and check out this weird stuff here. It didn't really hit me until later in further viewings that I just look at it and go, oh, that's just not needed what you just did there. You don't need that at all. I'm all for this idea of if he had a vision at the time of something he really wanted to pull off, populating that later isn't the worst idea in the world. My problem is the things he chose to add.
Putting some more traffic into Mos Eisley because he just didn't have the resources to have enough people around, and he didn't have CGI. That idea doesn't bother me.
Right.
But a little hint to what I'm going to say about my viewing, watching the original print, I didn't miss it.
No, you don't miss
Mos
it.
Mos Eisley looking a little sparse. Just, I mean, if you've ever been in a one-horse town that's a little run down, it kind of looks like that.
Yeah, the Han shot first thing is better in its original form.
You don't even think about it.
No.
It's just a Han shoots, and that's it.
Right.
The end of it. There's no controversy.
It's only annoying because he made a thing later.
Yeah.
And now it's a it's so dumb. That shouldn't have been there. The weird yell they gave Obi-Wan when he was scaring away the sand people, which is different than the one in the original cut. is
that sticks
totally
out to me
dumb
in the special edition.
Yeah, there's a lot of obnoxious stuff in there. None of it is needed. Like, I didn't see a single thing and went, oh, I'm glad that's there. Now, that the Wedge conversation with Luke is actually, I think, fine. Like, there's a little cutting room floor scene that we never saw before. There's no weird...
Well, and you also get an earlier scene at Tashi Station in the special edition.
Oh, right. There is something.
So it kind of sets up that later...
Yeah. Which, again, you don't need, though. You don't need it. Like, you don't have to tell... when Luke makes an idea or says, hey, I was going to go to Tashi Station and pick up some power converters, we intuit what that means. It's a kid growing up who's got ideas and he wants to do more than just work on the farm. Yeah, and we picture a place that's full of cool robots hawking wares. Like, we got it. You don't have to go and like paint that photo for us. So I don't know. I think the best of those special editions was the one that was the most well treated of the three is 5, because they A, added very little, and B, what they did add was super subtle, and it was mostly stuff that looked good in 97 if you CGI'd it, like outsides of ships and things like that. Yeah. So
I'll tell you one thing. When I watched this original copy the first time I got this DVD, I did notice that it didn't look that great. It's not a great transfer, because the film was transferred to Laserdisc, was then transferred to DVD. They didn't do a lot of remastering. And I know a lot of people who are into high fidelity stuff really liked the despecialized editions that are fan done, where they took the higher quality prints and then removed things to make them as close to the theatrical release as possible. Right. But what I did, because I'm like, I just want the actual theatrical release. I don't even want it to be in my mind that somebody else did this. I want to be like, this is what I saw when I was 7 years old. I watched it on a small Samsung LCD screen in my bedroom. Okay. I didn't put it on my big OLED screen. Yeah. And it looked fine.
Sure.
Because it shows up not letterbox, like fully boxed. It doesn't fill the screen. And yes, it's not as big, but because it's not as big, that resolution that it has looks okay. Those effects of the planet, particularly at the beginning, looks real washed out if you put it on a big screen, but it looked fine. Yeah. It looked fine on my small screen. And so I got to enjoy a decent looking, even if it's not high fidelity or high resolution, copy, and enjoy the beats of the movie in the way I remembered them. And so, opposite of you, I didn't come in with I'm going to look at this with my modern eye. I said, I want to look at this the way I looked in 1977. I want to just remember what made this movie great, because sometimes I think, yeah, I guess Empire is a better movie, but sometimes part of me, just the gut says, no, but I like Star Wars better. And it's absolutely nostalgic. It's not on the merits of the film. Right. It's because Star Wars promised me so much that I didn't get from Empire. Star Wars promises me an unlimited galaxy. And the original print, without all this other stuff in it, leaves so much to the imagination. It's a galaxy far, far away. I remembered while watching this that when I was a kid, I would talk to my parents and my friends like, what if it's true? What if just accidentally a long time ago this did happen? Like, you had room to play with this stuff. And his father fighting in the Clone Wars, that could have meant anything. There's just so much magic in what's left off screen, and what's on screen is just a greatest hits of film tropes to that time. You've got classic war fighting battles. You've got a Kurosawa plot line. You have Tarzan swinging across with the maiden in distress in the death. You have everything, all the greatest adventure movies combined into one. And I think that's why it got so much attention in 1977, because you have to remember, nobody was doing this. Science fiction was 2001: A Space Odyssey up to that point. And Lucas, most of you probably know this story, but Lucas wanted to make Flash Gordon. He tried very hard to buy the rights to Flash Gordon and make a Flash Gordon movie, and he couldn't get it done. So he just decided to invent a story himself and gave himself the freedom to not just do Flash Gordon, but every other serial drama that he loved, but elevate it. And I think putting it in a low res situation for me got me past the things where, yeah, I can kind of see the rope, or, those effects, they were great at the time, but they're not as good as they are now. And it just hangs together so well as a movie.
I agree. Here's what's funny. You went to it as your 7-year-old self, and I went into it as a cynical adult, but I came out 7 years old again. Like, it was impossible for me to deny the things you've just said. And I really, really had fun. Like, I had such a blast watching it again for the billionth time, but wasn't bored. I still enjoyed it. Like, I loved it. And I kind of want to watch it again. I'm kind of in the mood to kind of like rip through it all again now. And it completely holds up in that way. But I do have a controversial theory that I've never shared with you.
Okay.
So I've had it for years, and I don't talk about it a lot publicly, but I want to know what you think of this particular theory. It's impossible for us to prove it, because the past is the past and whatever. But I have this theory, and have had for quite a while, this theory about Star Wars and its success. I do not think Star Wars is at all successful and ends up being a weird, cheesy blip on the film radar, a total film sack movie in the making, had it not been for two very important factors. The music choice, which in the 70s, the hot thing was to do really bad synth music for everything, especially science fiction. They didn't do that. They went orchestrated. And, relative unknown John Williams elevates that no matter what, but nobody knew it at the time so much. Anyway, that and the sound work. I think those, now, I don't want to knock the visuals. The visuals are incredible and groundbreaking, and they took us into the new blockbuster future. There's no question about any of that. And I'm not including it in this little list just because I think the other two are so massive. But I think the music and the sound work elevate this to something different than it would have been.
Because when you say the sound work, there are definitely places where I can tell the miking levels were not necessarily in sync. Luke sounds a little different when he's looking that way than when he looks the other way. But that's not what you're talking about.
No.
You're talking about sound effects, right?
Sound effects, creature effect sounds, the sounds of the world they're in, what a TIE fighter sounds like, what a blaster sounds like, what Jawas discussing what deal they just made, what that conversation sounds like. That stuff was so new, and was in my opinion, it's the paint on the old car that we recognize that made all the difference. Because the old car is all the things you said. It's the swashbuckler, it's the Western, it's the Seven Samurai, it's the, all the things. It's young Arthur pulling the sword out of the rock, really is, Luke and his lightsaber. Like, all of that stuff is there, and it's immediately recognizable and enjoyable on some level. But I just think that orchestration, and particularly the incredible sound effect design, just took us to a whole new place and changed that stuff forever. Like, I think that's undeniable how powerful it was. The question is it controversial to say that Star Wars goes nowhere without it? And I don't know. I think it doesn't. I don't think Star Wars is that big a deal if you don't have that other stuff. And I think it mattered to our little 7-year-old ears a lot to hear that, and then have the visuals come with it, and to have that whole package. I'm not even sure George Lucas knew what he had. Like, I'm not sure he knew how well that was going to go together. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things where so many coincidences came together. And I don't mean to give George Lucas no credit. He is causing these coincidences to be able to come together by focusing in on something and reading Joseph Campbell and hammering away and being persistent and writing 4 different drafts of the script and the treatment before he finally gets this thing done. But there were so many accidental things, like John Williams being amazing, right? It's George Lucas gets the credit for insisting, no, I'm going to go orchestral, but he has the accident of hiring someone at the beginning of his career, for less money than we'd have to pay someone more established, who ends up being possibly one of the greatest cinema musicians of all time, one of the greatest score creators of all time. And because of that, this thing won 6 Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Best art direction, best costume design, best film editing, best original score, best sound, and best visual effects. A special achievement for sound effects editing went to Ben Burt, and they got a scientific and engineering award to John Dykstra for the development of the Dykstra Flex camera. And so when you say it has to do with sound, I think, I could only add to say it has to do with production. Like, the production on this movie was miles beyond what it should have been for a little sci-fi film, right?
Yeah.
Like, And this wasn't even a big budget movie. I think his budget was what, $8 million. Like, he had to cut corners to get this made.
Yeah. I just, imagine instead if the corners he cut were the music and it was all synthy and bad. What if the sound effects sounded like every other terrible thing of the time? And you can go find these movies. There's plenty of movies in the 70s where they make this attempt and it's bad, and you hear it and you go, oh man, this must have looked even worse after Star Wars. Like, Star Wars just made all that stuff look bad. Effects are a whole new animal, because in that regard, it's absolute and utter innovation. Like, they just blow everything else out of the water. But I think if you don't have those other two pieces, it's like it's like a good video game, and the gameplay is good, but it looks like trash and it's glitchy. No one remembers your game. But when you make a game that's got a good structure and a good gameplay mechanic, which I'd say that movie does in its equivalency, but then it has these layers of quality and polish and shine that were just unheard of in 77, it made all the difference. So in my head, when I would think about it as a kid, I wasn't thinking about, oh yes, the point when they said that thing, it was a great turning point in the plot. I don't think of those things. I go, man, the sound of Vader's breath thing is scary, and the sound of even R2-D2 is. Those should be the stupidest characters. They're so dumb. They're just annoying and pratfally and goofy, but they work because of that stuff. It's just layered in there.
That is the credit to Lucas, is that he was a young, obsessive filmmaker, and he insisted on not just cheaping out with R2-D2's sound, not just cheaping out with going with synth music, not cheaping out on the costumes, while trying to stay within the budget that he had, and so he deserves the credit for creating the environment in which all of this was made. Now, I do think that George Lucas never quite loved the things that made this movie great.
I agree.
I don't mean all of them. Some of them were his intention. He wanted to make a space adventure movie that was like a movie serial from his youth, and he succeeded at that, and he's always wanted to capture that. But I think situations forced him to do things that made the movie a little darker. I think he would have liked to have been able to make it, a little more fun, but you just didn't have the tools to do that. And so he ended up making a movie that was great for reasons he didn't intend. And that is why you don't see anything like it after. Even Empire, which is good on its own, is good because he hired someone else to write the script.
Yeah, right? And a different director. Kirshner seemed to have a sense for what we like. He seemed to know what we liked about Star Wars and what to carry forward. The reason there's such debate about the prequels and such hate directed towards the prequels is Lucas decided, hey, now that no one can say no to me and I've got all the money in the world, let me make it the way I wanted to. I'm going to emphasize all the things I loved about making these. And they weren't the Joseph Campbell mythology. That was an accident. He had written the script and read Joseph Campbell's like, hey, this kind of follows this. But he didn't then continue to follow that. He wanted to just create serial adventures. He didn't stick to that. At least I don't think he did. It certainly doesn't appear that he did. He wanted to make kid-friendly stuff. He didn't want things to be consistent, but I think situations kind of forced him to be consistent in the first few movies. And that's why in the prequels, he lets himself go wild. Like, you know what? I can show this, so I'm not going to throw away that idea. Yeah. I agree with this 100%. And it's always ripped me the wrong direction, because I still to this day don't think he really knows why we all loved it.
I would even go so far to say that he does. He understands. He just doesn't care.
Maybe
he's like, I know you liked that, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the movie I like.
I don't know what I like less or more, either that or him not knowing. Like, part of me likes the idea that it's accidental.
I've seen interviews where he's like, I'm making the movie I want to make.
Yeah.
Not the movie you want to make.
Sure.
And in fact, when he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, he basically said, I'm going to go work on things for me because nobody likes the things I like, but I really enjoy doing them. So you may never see them, but I'm going to make them anyway.
Yeah. I hope he does some of that just so I can see it. Because right now, what's he doing? Nothing really, right? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. He might be.
Might have,
but we don't know if he's doing things for him without subjecting himself to the public scrutiny that only brings him misery. We wouldn't know.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know if he's doing anything.
Howard the Duck 2, maybe. We'll see. Probably not.
Electric Duckaloo.
Ugh. Order that next time I'm at someplace. But yeah, like I don't think he. For example, here's a couple of things to your point about it being a little darker, maybe unintentionally. Everything kind of is a little bit dirty looking. I love that about Star Wars. I love the scarred up looking side of stuff. I like a weird ship design. I like stuff looking like it's been used. And it's dirty. Tatooine is a nasty place. Like that stuff is meaningful to me. He showed in the prequels he prefers a much shinier, cleaner Star Wars. At least that was the impression I got. And I really much prefer the dark stuff. An example of this is Luke coming home to find the smoldering corpses of his aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of shocking. It's like, man, they were just in there drinking blue milk and talking about evaporators and stuff. And now look at them. Just sprawled out, slaughtered by stormtroopers, which then made stormtroopers way cooler, even though they did a terrible thing, but it made them much better as a bad guy army.
They were dangerous.
Yeah, they were dangerous.
Mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like all of that stuff really is important. And, 3PO walking around with Jawa bodies and throwing them in a fire. I'm like, man, this took a turn.
Some of that may be age too, right? When George Lucas is a young, rebellious film outsider, he may be willing to show burnt out aunt and uncle to thumb his nose at the movie industry. When George Lucas is successful, comfortable family man, he's like, oh, that's a little much. Yeah, I don't need to show that, right? That's just that's not fun for the kids. I want to make it fun for the kids.
Yeah, you could argue that Indiana Jones, which he wrote and collaborated with Spielberg on, took a similar directions. You could actually argue that Spielberg has had those moments in his career.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Although lately he's kind of killing it with his dramas, but like, these are two of the most commercially successful visionary directors of their time, and I think rightly so. And they are part of a generation of directors who continue to blow our minds. The Scorseses and De Palmas of the world are part of that group, and I've always found that whole group and them hanging out, it's always been really fascinating to me because they make such different stuff, but such iconic and ultimately important movies for what they're trying to make movies for. And this idea that George never meant for Star Wars to be taken as seriously as we take it, or we all want like a seedy underground thing about bounty hunters, and he's like, well, no, that's what you should want is a little kid winning the pod race, And I'm like, no, that's not what we want.
I don't even think that he thinks we should want it.
Yeah,
but he wants it, and he thinks it's fun, and he thinks kids will like it, and. It's not 100% true, but generally people who hate the prequels are people who grew up watching the original trilogy, and the people who like the prequels, and they exist, I know one personally, are people who grew up and were kids when the prequels came out.
My kids like the prequels. They were kids.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of expectations. First of all, if you all is the prequel, then you're not going to have the same take on them as we do. And if you liked those original movies for those reasons that were not his intentions, and he doesn't follow up on them, well, then of course you're not going to like what he does after that. It's like any artist that changes their music style. It reminds me of Green Day, right? Yeah. If you like their hard stuff and then they changed to Dookie and suddenly you're like, I hate it. Well, yeah, of course you do. They changed.
And
so Lucas changed.
Yeah. Dookie's a great album, though. Just as a side note.
That's like saying the prequels are great to some people.
You're right. You're right. I mean,
it's weird to think of that, though.
It is a little bit weird to think of it that way, but it is such a perfect thing at the perfect time. I feel like you make this thing in the 50s, you can't do it. You make this movie in the 80s and 90s, it's already been done to another degree, and it's less impactful. There's something about when he made it, that he made it, and how he made it that made all the difference. And it's this one point of contact where it's got to be the most well-known thing ever, isn't it? Like the biggest, most well-known property of all time. It has to be. What else could there be that I can think of in modern time? What else do we all know collectively across the planet more than Star Wars by the numbers. I can't say what that would be, but I'll bet it's Star Wars as far as like an entertainment property goes.
Well, it is in the top 3 when you adjust for, the changing value of $1, highest grossing movies of all time.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way. Yeah. What an impact to make, but also what a legacy to live up to. And as much as, we may say that, well, he had other plans or he wanted to do other things or his tone was wanted to do something differently. We can say that all day long, but at the end of the day, is George Lucas even capable of topping himself? I don't think so. Like, I don't know what you'd do, no matter how successful it was. And you could say Raiders of the Lost Ark was a pretty damn good thing, and I would put that among my list of perfect movies.
I remember going to the theater to see Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And thinking, this isn't space. And that Harrison Ford isn't playing Han Solo. I'm not going to like this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I had a prejudice of like, no, I want to see George Lucas make more space things.
Right.
I guess it doesn't have to be Star Wars, but I want space things.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a space thing. And he's got Han Solo, but he's not playing Han Solo. Okay. But of course I loved it.
Yeah. Like, it's an incredible film, and it's it's different here. He's not wearing director's pants, and it's a great collaboration between really talented friends and all that. But his writing's really solid, and what he was trying to do, which is create these Alan Quartermain style Saturday matinee kind of adventure movie, totally pulled that one off too. I hope that one's on our best movies of all time list at some point, because I think that would be equally fun to talk about.
I think the biggest mistake, it's almost too harsh to say biggest mistake. I think the thing I wish George Lucas had done is what he did with Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which is said, I'm going to be a producer. And he did that with Indiana Jones too. He's like, I'm going to help create the movie. You guys go execute it. You direct it, you write it,
Right.
I wish he had continued to do that with Star Wars. Why he decided, no, I'm going to take the reins and write and direct for the prequels, I don't know. I mean, no matter what he said, I don't really know what motivated him to do that. He didn't need to. But I feel like he got back to that point when he sold the film. It was like, you know what? Fine. You just all go do it. And I feel like that's almost too far. Like, sure. I wish he would have stayed involved, because he does have the mind to wrap himself around this. And he could have continued to do his own side projects, but I don't know, maybe he was tired of the criticisms of Return of the Jedi, or that he hasn't done anything since. He can't recapture, maybe he wanted to prove something. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, just from a mentality standpoint, how can you separate yourself in any way from it and still make an objectively new thing? Like, it's impossible. It's Star Wars. You can't do it. I just don't think you can do it. You can't be George Lucas and I mean, I guess you can. In the world of possibilities, I suppose you can. But I think it's really hard to top yourself. He's I don't know it's like typecasting for actors.
And that is the thing, right? We say all these things about, I wish he would have been a producer. It was great when other people directed, except for Star Wars. Star Wars. Forget episode 4, all of that. Star Wars, the movie that came out called Star Wars, was written and directed by George Lucas. Yeah.
And there's no getting around it. And it will be this pinnacle of achievement that we'll all look back on for generations of people. Kids, whenever you discover it, and it'll change your life forever, and you'll never think about movies the same. I don't care if it happens now or then or whenever.
It's one of the top 20 movies of all time.
Yeah, and deservedly so.
Only Alfred Hitchcock shows up more than once in these lists at the top.
He's always poking his big weird nose into things.
Actually, Francis Ford Coppola, George's buddy, shows up twice with The Godfather, but it's The Godfather twice, right?
We get probably a couple Scorseses in there, right? Don't we?
Yeah, we'll start to see more repeats as we go down this list for sure.
But they're all of the same graduating class.
And in fact, Empire Strikes Back will show up on this list.
Sure,
eventually.
sure. Shawshank Redemption's on this list, isn't it? It's got to be. Got to be on this list.
There's so many good. Yes, it is actually. Okay, number 57.
I look forward to seeing that, because that might be, if you're asking me, hey Scott, take all your nerd out. What's your favorite movie of all time? It's probably that. And even that's got a little nerd in it, because it's got a little Stephen King in there, which I'm a nerd for anyway. But anyway,
we're gonna get our first Spielberg, not next time, but 2 times from now with E.T.
Wait, our first? Oh no, we did Schindler's List.
Oh, you're right. We did Schindler's List. I forgot.
Yeah. See, but that shows the freaking range there, right?
Yeah,
like,
doesn't it?
You don't even think of them in the same the same thought.
I forgot it was the same director. I really did.
I'm looking forward to that though. E.T. will be fun. But back to this. I was talking to, I don't remember who I was talking to the other day. Somebody on a show maybe. But we were talking about like our all-time influences. It's actually impossible for, I think, anybody in our age range, especially in the world that you and I inhabit, and podcasting and, you know, discussing kind of this nerd stuff, your world of tech. Is it even possible for you to say that Star Wars is not a giant influence on where you are today, who you became, your personality? Like, it's impossible.
So one of the things I like to talk about when we talk about any of these movies is, did you realize this quote came from X, you know, like, oh, that's from Casablanca. That's cool. I didn't even realize that. Oh, that's from The Godfather. I mean, this movie, pretty much every other thing they say is something that in my circle of friends is common parlance. You know, I got a bad feeling about this. You know, you're a little short for a stormtrooper. You know, only a master of evil, Darth. Yeah. Like, it's just filled to the brim. I would venture to say, of the movies we've seen so far, this one is the most quotable.
Yeah, I would agree. Did you, when you were,
and when you're talking about influence on your life in lots of ways, that's just one.
Sure. But when you're, so, okay, first thing I wanted to do after I saw it was I wanted to be somebody in the movie. I'm curious if you were, if you went straight Han Solo, or if you went pure Luke, because for me it was Luke. It was all about Luke. I went out and found a shirt that was longer that I could put a belt on that would make it look kind of like his little, not skirt, but you know what I mean, like his tied off thing. And then it would have little belt slots, and I'd carry an old pipe that looked like a lightsaber, and I'd wear, you know, the high tied up shoes and stuff so I could look like Luke Skywalker. I mean, I'm 7. You're just supposed to do that when you're 7. I'm running around playing with my friends. It was Luke all the time. Tunic. That's right, chat room. Sorry, I couldn't think of what that thing's called. But I couldn't wait to get a Luke tunic and just run around and be Luke Skywalker all the time. Later in life, I wanted to be Han Solo or Boba Fett or, you know, something cooler.
Well, definitely when you're a kid. When I was 7 years old, I too had Luke was my favorite. I thought Han was kind of a jerk.
Kind of was, yeah.
I liked him, but it was like, no, he's kind of a jerk to Luke. You know, Luke's the good guy. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, and there's also the idea that Luke and Leia are getting together, which I don't think it hits you as hard over the head as I remembered it. But, you know, when you're 7 years old, getting kissed twice by a princess, I mean, come on, they have to get married now. Oh, wait, we'll find out why that's not a good idea in a couple of movies here. Yeah. But yeah, we actually divided the Star Wars figurines between me and my sister. My sister's 4 years older than me, but she wanted Star Wars figures too. So she got Leia, C-3PO, Han and Chewbacca. I got Luke, Obi-Wan, R2-D2, and I can't remember my other one. And then we both each got a Stormtrooper, and we each got a Jawa. Maybe my other one was a sand person.
Oh, a little sand person? That's awesome. Yeah. I had a Hammerhead from the bar, from the canteen.
Well, that was the set. I'm just talking about the original lineup. Hammerhead came in the second wave.
Yeah, it did. I loved Hammerhead. I loved all the weird crap in the cantina. That's the other thing that's dark. That cantina, everything about the cantina, established in my head, locked it in, burned it into my synapses. That in the future, space bars were going to be one of my favorite things ever, and they were always going to be gross, and they were always going to be filled with people you don't trust, and they all are going to look freaking weird. Like, that was it. You've established the new norm for intergalactic beverage establishments. That's just the way it was going to be, and it's never changed for me. Like, if I judge it all by that now, and it still holds up. Like, we don't serve their kind here, and the robot's not being allowed in there. It's got some great subtext. And
I got Darth Vader. That's who I got.
Oh, you got Vader, did you?
Yeah.
How quick did you lose? How quickly on your action figures did you lose the little lightsabers in their arms? How fast?
Oh yeah, the lightsabers broke off pretty quick.
Yeah. Bums me out because I still have all of those original figures, but none of their little pieces stayed. Their little movables, and so I have an original run Luke. He's in glass actually somewhere in the other room.
Oh wow!
And he's got, I don't know, I can't believe I didn't show that to you in your hair, but he's got he's in mint condition outside of the box, of course, but no saber. I lost it.
Well, because it had the little short, stubby, thick part of the lightsaber, and then it was real thin plastic. I don't know if that was to save money or something. And that thin part always just broke right off.
Always broke, yeah. And then even just recently, my dog a couple of years ago found my original run of Chewbacca, who I also now I don't have his crossbow. That's the thing he's missing. But the dog bit his head almost completely off. So now I have him, but he looks like he's been in a horrible accident. So
I lost a lot of these when I moved to college. My brother took them over. He took mine and my sister's over and played them to death. So I have some of them. The original, I think I have my original Kenobi, although he doesn't have his vest anymore. And I have some of the original Jawas. I think I have the original Han. Everything else got lost.
My favorite ancillary character, or I guess character in the entire first movie are the TIE fighter pilots that aren't Vader. So there's that scene where Vader zooms in on his fancy TIE fighter and he's got the two on the side of him.
Yeah,
the guys on the side, and they're black. They're basically just cool black versions of the white Stormtrooper uniforms, except they got all these piping and things that are coming out of it. And man, as soon as that thing hit Toys R Us, I was down there and buying like 4 of those things. I thought they were so
We always went
cool.
to Venture or Kmart.
Yeah.
And even now, when I go in a Target, which is basically, the same kind of store, when I pass that toy aisle, I just want to look at the Star Wars toys.
Yep.
Because that was every time we went to Kmart, every time we went to Venture, I would go right to the toy aisle and look at all the Star Wars figures.
Yeah, it's all I cared about in that place.
Yeah.
In fact, so now here we are, adult males, and within reaching. This is my turn to reach for something that I can't believe I have handy to me. But look at this. I got my Boba Fett helmet. It's actually my daughter's, but there's that right here. Oh, look at this. Hold on.
Scott is going off camera. Oh, do you have a Stormtrooper helmet?
And it's in chat room. People at home aren't going to see this, but I have like a kid-sized Stormtrooper, except he's from the new thing, so he's got the new design.
When you say kid-sized, you mean it's the size of a child?
It's the size of a child, yeah. And look, he's got his gun and everything, and he's got movable arms and stuff. And he just sits over here with that. He wears the Boba Fett helmet, which is sacrilege somehow, over in the corner, and just looks at me all day. And I could point into 5 other directions. There's a Han Solo poster over there aiming a gun at me. There's a R2 unit that's about this big sitting on the table over there looking at me. I love it. Like I'm an old ass man now, grown ass man going, and if I go to the store and I see there's some new Star Wars thing, guess where I go? Right to that section, just like you were when you were 7.
No, same thing.
Yeah.
I have got the Darth Vader collector case still that I got. This is like Empire Strikes Back era.
Yeah.
And inside
that's awesome.
Are what's left of my original toys figurines.
Oh, no way.
I saved from my brother.
Oh, I should have brought my other stuff in here. Let's see it. Can you open it?
Oh man, I can't. Yeah, there we go. So here, I again, sorry audio folks, but
oh, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Now some of it's even modern era. I have a Director Krennic in here even.
Wow.
From Rogue One. But yeah, I've got let's see what I've got. Boba Fett that you had to send in the little proofs of purchase to get. This is that one's not here. Here's my original R2D2.
Nice.
From when I was a kid.
Oh, that's some rare business.
I think this is no, that's not the original. I've got a Bosch. Oh, little Empire Strikes Back Hoth. Oh, here's original Chewie.
Oh yeah, see, there's the Chewie, but yours doesn't have his head caved in. That's good.
No. I got an Admiral Akbar in here.
Oh, good. That's a trap, by the way. Careful, it's a trap.
Yeah. So, here's Han Bespin outfit.
Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way, my comparative watching thing. Wait, is that red thing you're holding one of those Imperial Guards? Is that what that is?
Oh yeah, this little thing. Yeah.
Oh, they're so cool.
And then cool. No capes, but original Jawas.
Yeah. That is a little naked Jawa man.
Here he is. Here's the original, like first run Han Solo.
Wow, that's awesome. You have way more
His
stuff.
Nose is like all worn off.
Yeah, because Han's always putting his nose where it shouldn't belong.
And the piece de resistance, Scott, of my collection.
Yeah. Oh, you got a Gungan. Sorry, it's what's his name? I can't even remember his name.
Jar Jar
Binks. All right, this is my now. So this will take us back to the movie a little bit. Luke is getting the droids ready before dinner, and he's irritated because he doesn't want to do it. Yeah, exactly. So she's over. C-3PO is lowering into the goop and whatever R2's doing. He's playing with a little ship in his hand. He's got like a little miniature ship he's floating around. I never noticed this before, but it's one of those Imperial shuttle things that I'm holding here right here.
It definitely looks like that. Yeah. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I noticed that too. Not this time, but I noticed that at a previous viewing where I'm like, that really does look like the Emperor's shuttle from Return of the Jedi.
And I feel bad, or not bad. It's a little sad to me that in the past I never saw that as a cool nerd out moment in future movies where they actually realized one of those ships. Like I guess Jedi is the first time we really saw one flying, but when that thing took off and the wings went up and stuff, I never went, oh, that's the thing Luke had in his little electronic hut deal. And it bums me out because I feel like that would have been a good nerd out moment, but these are really cool. Okay, here's the...
And if it was modern day, they would have sold that toy.
Right.
With the idea of placing it in a future movie.
You still have Hammerhead.
I do. I still have him.
I don't have him anymore.
I love Hammerhead.
He's the best. He's in his little summer gear there, his little swimmy.
Ready for the beach.
All right, quick. If you had to name your favorite ship in the history of Star Wars, do you have a favorite ship? Because I do.
You know what? It's going to be boring, but I love a good X-wing fighter. And rewatching this just reaffirmed my love of that sort of World War II era feel that they give.
They're pretty great. Yeah, I can't discount you there. For me, it's the snow speeders in Empire that they fight in on Hoth. The snow
Those
speeders,
are pretty great.
Yeah, they're my favorites and always probably will be. But B-Wing in the chat, some have said TIE Fighters, TIE Defender.
I mean, the Millennium Falcon, too.
Oh, so iconic. It was the first. As also, as a kid, you were always told that everything looked like an airplane or a rocket ship. And then Star Wars came along, and they reminded you, or maybe told you for the first time, hey, guess what? Objects in space don't need to be aerodynamic. They don't need to be something that reminds you of an airplane.
Which is hilarious because Star Wars doesn't really pay attention to that at all.
No.
Except in the Millennium Falcon's case.
Yeah. Well, I think another good example, it's later in the series, but Boba Fett ship. Yeah, Slave One's pretty weird.
Although it's got wings. Why does it have wings?
That's true. It does. It's got those weird deflector-looking wings. But they have other ships where it's like, is it a B-wing or something anyway, where it's like a big, heavy thing over here and then just a little bitty thing over here. I love non-symmetrical spaceship design. I think that is so much fun. And Star Wars is what it gave it to me. It didn't exist before that. And since then, others have, even George Lucas got a little too symmetrical in the prequels. But what makes the Millennium Falcon cool isn't that it's this big, cool, rusty hunk of junk. It's that it's got no symmetry. It's this weird freaking thing out on the side where everyone's sitting in the cockpit and strange locations for turrets and just a funky layout. Like, man, it's
a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And I love that that's there right from the beginning. Princess Leia says, you came in that? Yeah, I guess you're braver than I thought.
Yeah.
To us, we're like, why? Why is it so bad? It never looked that bad to me, but I had to believe it was a piece of junk because that's what everybody kept telling me.
Yeah. They I don't know, just showing me new stuff all the time. So hats off, Star Wars. You not only belong on this list, as far as I'm concerned, you belong very high on it. So nice job. I don't mean high.
We all get high on Star Wars.
Yes, we do. We'd be remiss if we didn't at least remind people that Tom is on a periodic show called Let's Talk About Star Wars.
Let's Talk About Star Wars. Yeah, with Garrett Weinzierl, who may or may not be that person I was referring to earlier as personally knowing.
Had a feeling.
Who likes prequels.
Yeah, had a feeling. Maybe we were talking about him, but it's a really good show.
And Jenny Josephson is the other person who is on the show, who is more in my era of Star Wars.
She's from our time. Let's put it that way. One other thing I was going to say that I almost forgot about. Since we were talking about Boba Fett, I'd forgotten that in that cut scene with CGI Jabba walking around, there's a moment there where at the end, Boba Fett walks out, looks at the camera, and then walks away, which I don't like. I don't want to even see him until Empire. Yeah. So thanks a lot again, special edition. you're stupid. All right. Our next movie is going to be One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That'll be a month from now.
It's our first Jack Nicholson movie.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will it be
we'll
our
be
only?
Staying in the 70s too.
Yeah.
75.
Yeah. It won't be our only though. He's been in too many good movies. I'm sure we'll see him again. Is my thinking. But and I'm excited about this one because this is one that I should have seen, and it appeals to me in every way, and I just have never taken the time to see it. I just haven't seen.
I forgot to ask you. Is this your first time watching the Star Wars, or had you?
Yeah,
seen it?
No, this is my first time, and boy, howdy, does it hold up.
Also, large numbers of the cast still alive. So
yeah,
that's another thing.
Yeah, hardly anyone's dead. There are a few. Tarkin's out.
Yeah.
We can
sadly Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher now, and then who's the
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness. Both him and Tarkin, the actors, were both like
Peter Cushing.
They're both like, we don't want to do this. This is dumb. I wonder what those guys would think today if they were around. Because there's all the talk about how both of them were just like, whatever, this is...
There's some great interviews with Alec Guinness about the Star Wars phenomenon where he's just very bemused by it. He's like...
Yeah. He just doesn't get it.
Yeah. No, I think he gets it. He just thinks it's all a little funny.
Yeah, a little silly. I mean, this is the guy over the River Kwai, or whatever the name of that old...
Right. Bridge over the River Kwai, Lawrence of Arabia.
It's like
we'll be seeing him again when we watch Lawrence of Arabia.
Another movie I've seen, but it's been ages. But it'll be good to watch Lawrence of Arabia because that movie apparently is the big inspiration to all these guys who've been talking about Spielberg and Lucas and everybody. They just gush about Lawrence of Arabia. So that'll be a good one to get to. But we're loving this series. We hope you guys are enjoying it too. Next week, it'll be a regular Tuesday episode because CES is over. And we'll be back to, regular conversation episode. And then we'll do a pilot thing after that. Then another episode. And then the movie. So get ready and sit down and watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for next month. That'll be February's edition of the Current Geek Film Festival. And we hope you enjoyed Star Wars. It's going to be hard not to. Hey, chat room, I know it's not the guy over the River Kwai. I can never remember the name of that movie. It's a bridge.
It's a bridge. It's over a river.
It's not a guy over the river.
What's to know?
I don't know. Me and my dumb brain. Let me reset my brain while you tell me anything you got going on right now that's cool before we go. Do you got anything cool?
Well, in addition to Let's Talk About Star Wars at letstalkaboutstarwars.com, I'm doing a podcast with Molly Wood again. If you liked Molly Wood and I on Buzz Out Loud, you'll love us on It's a Thing, where we are freed from the shackles of talking about just technology to talk about whatever we like. It's the best gestalt of our pre and post show plus Buzz Out Loud era. About modern day. We just recorded one today about neon and collectible tennis shoes and so some things about packaging and how the packaging is more complicated than the things you get shipped in it sometimes. And it's all there at itsathing.me.
Nice. Go listen to it. It's really good. I've been listening, and it's fantastic to hear you guys back together once again. For me, I would say, hey, what would I say? I do a show with my wife on Thursdays now. It's called Skim. She's the Kim. I'm the S. And we do it every...
And you talk about milk.
We do sometimes. Sometimes it comes up. And it's been a really fun thing to do. I always wanted to do... I used to be a big fan of couples casts. It was always an interesting thing. Len Peralta and his wife used to do one. I used to love that. And used to really get into that stuff. And I just never occurred to me that maybe I could do that and that she would even care to do it. And it turns out she really likes it. So now we do one, and it's a lot of fun. So check it out. That's at frogpants.com/skim if I'm to promote anything this week. I will say this, though. If you would like to support this show and you like what Current Geek is up to, and I know many of you do, please head on over to patreon.com/currentgeek. That's how we keep this show afloat. And we would love to have some of your float to keep us floating over at patreon.com/currentgeek. I think that's going to do it for us. What else? I guess that's it. Don't forget that's the wrong. Why is that playing? Sorry. Don't forget to check out the website, currentgeek.com. As always, that's a place to go. And also find us on Twitter at CurrentGeek, Ace Detect, Scott Johnson. It's going to do it for us. For me, for Tom, we'll see you next week. Whoops. There we go. I don't even know if we have Legal Geek. I would have mentioned him, but I don't know if we do we?